Hello and welcome back to FT Business School. In the past decade, the world in which business operates has changed dramatically, but, say detractors, business schools have failed to keep pace. Indeed, they just have their heads stuck in the sand. Perhaps unsurprisingly, business deans largely refute these claims, but one dean who does believe that business schools have to change, and change rapidly, is Sally Blount, Dean of the Kellogg School at Northwestern University. Professor Blount, why the urgency?
Well, I think what's fascinating in human history, if you look back at the first decade of this millennium, I call it the wormhole decade. When it was beginning, think flip phone, Y2K, Bill Clinton, a 6% federal funds rate, and the dot-com bust, the original one. Who would have predicted that 10 years later, the World Trade Center would be down, something called the BRIC, a group of countries which hadn't even been named at the time, would account not for roughly 5% of GDP, but almost 20% of GDP. We'd be at a 0% federal funds rate and stuck there. And Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, Arthur Andersen, a number of iconic firms would have gone down the tubes. It was a profound decade, and we elected a black president in the United States. It was a profound decade where we invented social media, we invented the smartphone, which have completely remade the rules for advertising, for branding, for how organizations and industries are structured. It's been a time when the financial regulations, speaking of the Financial Times, have been completely rewritten. And I think that the whole world is still catching up with what happened in that wormhole decade.
So is it a question of the context in which business is operating, or is it about the way businesses organize themselves?
It's both. It's the context in which we're operating has changed because these fundamental economic, social, and political changes. All the rules for our human organizing have been rewritten. Scale is no longer advantage. We're watching we're watching Fortune 500 companies regularly split in half in the United States and around the world. And so what's happening is three things that we have to focus on at business schools. One is much more interface between professors and practitioners. If we're going to keep track of the rate of change, we can't stand apart fully separate or as separate as we have been. We're bringing more and more practitioners and professors into the classroom together. The second point is the core courses, they're going to go the way of commodities. The value add is going to be in electives and in discussion-based classes, because when you have competitors on MOOCs, you have HBX, lecturing is no longer where the value add is going to be.
Can I just say, we've been talking about this for decades though, haven't we, that business schools have to be closer to practice, that they have to be teaching different types of skills. Why? But it's not happening, it's not changing, is it?
It is at Kellogg. We're making a huge investment in something called the Impact and Practice Initiative.
Why is it so hard to do? Why do business schools find this so difficult?
Well, we're sitting in the university and we're culturally academics, right? And I think that everybody's been saying it for years, but the urgency hasn't been there. How you practice, for us, maybe it's because we're on the forefront of marketing. How you practice marketing is changing every year with the advent of social media. We can't afford to sit back, right? In that way, in order to be current, we have to have the professors who know the social science theory and the practitioners who are changing the rules in the room at the same time.
So if you look at research, because this is the key to the argument often, do you think business schools can still conduct research in the way they do, or does it have to be more related to business?
Well, we've always been related to business. I think that a lot of our
related to practice, let me put it.
Many of our faculty, though, are partnering with people at Google. They're partnering with people at Facebook. The data that is now available about human behavior, in addition to about economics and financials, is profound. And that's why this term behavioral economics. The other point I wanted to make is the most realistic, the most impactful research is going to be cross-disciplinary, where we bring psychologists, economists, and practitioners together with really big data sets, and important things are going to happen.
Professor Blount, thank you very much indeed. For more business school news and analysis, go to ft.com/business education.